Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from CES in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joining me for this segment, we have Joe DiMuro. He's the CEO of ASTOUND. We're going to discuss experiential marketing and how it has evolved. Joe, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. Pleasure.
Before we get your outlook for 2023, I want to hear how marketing has evolved, because my take on it is It's no longer brands telling you what you want, but the consumer telling brands what they want.
Always. I think at this point right now, that POV is coming from the consumers, right? They're helping dictate the manifestation of how brands behave, how they communicate with those consumers, what the narrative and the language and the editorial is. It's very much a consumer-centric positioning for brands, as opposed to top-down. It's coming from bottom up and meeting in the center. It's multidimensional. And rather than just being a linear conversation, it's much more multiplicity.
Right. So at CES, we're talking about the technology ecosystem. How are marketers and brands leveraging these newer technologies to reach their customers?
Yeah, I think there's communication is probably the first thing, right? In terms of closing that gap between how technology enables a buyer and a seller, or a product and a consumer. I think that starts to be compressed and condensed through technology, but also keeping the human factor. I mean, one of the things that we profess at ASTOUND, that it's not just about the technology and building exhibits and trade group exhibits. It's really about creating a human story, but using technology to convey that story.
What do consumers care about more, the brand or the product?
Well, I think they care, that's a tough question. I would say that they care, it's almost like an equal positioning, right? The product has to have utility. How does the product have meaning for a consumer? And from a brand perspective, how do they create a relationship with the consumer? So it's almost this ecosystem of reciprocity. I create a product that has utility for a consumer, the consumer has a relationship with the brand and that product utility. If that's not part of the ecosystem, I believe then you're missing. It's a little bit like a three-legged stool. You're missing one of the legs on the stool.
So tell me about ASTOUND. Where do you fit in the ecosystem?
Sure. We are a experience design studio. So we actually work across multiple disciplines: creative, narrative, strategy, architectural fabrication, production, design, installation. That's sort of the toolkits and the skill sets that we have within the organization. It's kind of a full service solution around experiential, and how do we build out the manifestation of the creativity, physical, digital, virtual, mobile, whether it's at an exhibit like CES or it's at other exhibits, things that we do virtually, where brands want to experience a similar type of manifestation online. But we do the creative, the architectural, the fabrication. It's a multi-service unit that we provide.
So when we think about how brands portray themselves now, and I'm sure the pandemic has accelerated some of these trends, you can't just be in one place. You have to be everywhere. That virtual component that we learned during the pandemic is not going away.
Right, agreed. And I think it's something that's endemic to any type of marketing plan or any type of strategy. It's no longer physical and digital. It's physical and digital combined. There's a convergence of it.
Right.
And I think it's essentially what consumers are expecting today.
So when you think of 2023 for brand marketing and beyond, what do you think the trends are going to be?
Well, I think the human element, I'm going to come back to that again. I think as technology continues to accelerate and progress, I think, and you start to see these experiences, but having that human narrative and that human touch point element, technology also needs to be humanistic as opposed to just being so diagnostic. I think those are the critical things that we're going to start seeing. Story is always key. It's critical. How you tell the story and the manifestation of that story will change over time, change with technology, will change with the marketing and the production, the fabrication, and the experience itself.
Interesting, Joe. Appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us at CES.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
And thanks for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.